Grimsby, Manchester United in the Carabao Cup. I watched it last night.
I did too.
Yep. Producer Luke and I were texting each other saying, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Can you believe it? Anyway, Grimsby on penalties, and what a marathon penalty shootout that was. Absolutely. They go through, and Ruben Amorim's Manchester United are dumped out. First things first, and let's get this in the right order. Well done to Grimsby. This was their boss, Grimsby manager Dave Artell.
I said to him before the game, part of our game plan, be brave. Be brave. Don't regret not being brave. And if you make a mistake trying to play football, it's on me, not you. And that's how we want to play. That's how we express ourselves. Like I said, we should have scored more goals than the two we did, and that's the disappointing thing from my point of view. It didn't surprise me we played like that. I appreciate against world-class players, you never know. You know, we sat in the game in the office before going, well, you never know, but it's going to be a tough night. It was a tough night. You know, they've got world-class players, and it's a fantastic night for the football club, and I'm still extremely proud of what the players have produced.
Dave, from us all here this morning, well done. Well done to you. Well done to the players and everybody at Grimsby Town. 2-2, and then it goes straight to penalties. 12-11.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about entertainment, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I mean, I don't think the goalkeeping was of the greatest of standard, but the penalties were fair play to them. I was watching Grimsby thinking eventually they're going to miss, they're going to crack.
Me too.
I mean, it was a pitiful penalty for Mateus Cunha, wasn't it, to be able to seal it. I mean, a player that's got such tickets on himself has a moment to shine and then steps up in against the League Two side and passes it to the goalkeeper. But I'm glad that happened, because I thought that getting out of jail from Man United in that cup tie would have been an injustice on Grimsby and would have papered over the absolute indignation that they deserved to have thrust in their face.
Yeah.
For what ostensibly in the first half was a pitiful performance. I feel sorry for United fans. I very rarely feel sorry for them because they are quite an entitled lot at times. But I felt sorry for those fans that schlepped across the country to watch a group of players that couldn't be bothered in the first half, didn't think it was for them, didn't fancy it, beneath them. And then I listened to a host of pundits talking about formations. I'll pack it in. It's not about formations when you're playing against a League Two football club, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
It's about a desire and ability.
I know a lot of people.
Neither of them were exhibited in the first half.
A lot of people in the media call themselves Manchester United fans. How they can do that, how you can be both, I do not know. It's impossible. You work in the media, you've got to be right down the middle. You've got to be objective. Call it as it is, which is exactly what you do every single morning you're on with me. So, Simon, 56 places and 3 divisions between the two. Was this a night where levels never came to the fore?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's the great tradition of English Cups, which must never be lost.
True.
And these moments in time are such wonderful things that you enjoy them. I mean, and the owner of the football club, I remember him coming on this show a couple of years ago, and I think he was travelling down to an away game that Grimsby had drawn in the Cup and talking about his new ownership of Grimsby and his aspirations. So I was pleased for him. I saw him last night talking about, Eamon Holmes and Usain Bolt and everyone in Guildford who supports Man United. Your boys took a hell of a beating.
Love it.
I'm pretty sure they would like to better draw perhaps in Sheffield Wednesday, but you know what, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely club. I remember going there years and years ago with their old chairman, I think it was Peter Furno, was in situ and playing a game there when I was at Crystal Palace. So they're a great football club, with great traditions, not a great deal of success, but valuable to the community. So levels are always, at the fore when certain thought processes don't exhibit. And one of them was that Manchester United players didn't fancy the game.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be there. I don't really know what Amorim is talking about. I think he wants to say things, and for whatever reason, he'd rather be cryptic about it. Whatever his players spoke loudly of, it can't be that they don't want to play in this formation. It can only be that certain players that he's given an opportunity to, that have got hooks at half-time, like Ugarte, have been given opportunities and are not stepping up.
Well, to me, there's only one question in town. Should he carry on? But we'll get to that. But Simon, after last season's lowly United showing of 15th, and I still can't get my head around that.
Yeah.
Are we honestly heading for worse this time around? I mean, are there more depths to plummet?
But we've all given lots of passes to managers and talked about the weight of the shirt and talked about the culture of the football club and talked about the expectations of Manchester United and the challenges and clearly the inherent situation that's inside the football club. But I don't know what, tragically, I found out that Ruben Amorim graduated from the same coaching class as Gabi Abonglaho this morning, so that might explain a few things. But if you've been somewhere for 10 months, it is unfathomable to suggest that the United fans are along with Amorim now, because we're talking about 10 months now. He joined in November of last year, or maybe the very early part of December. His first game was against Ipswich, wasn't it? And we're now talking about a football club that he's been in charge of for 10 months. And there seems to be nothing changed. In fact, there seems to be a deterioration, if that's a possibility. Now, he will say the last 2 games in the Premier League, he says curious things. He talks about the fact that when they played Arsenal, they put a performance in that could beat anyone in the Premier League. Yet you seem to have evaded that you lost.
Yeah.
So you couldn't beat anyone in the Premier League because you just lost to Arsenal.
Right.
And he talks about not being in Europe. He's a strange brew. I don't know what they saw in him in the first place besides the fantastic record that he had in Portugal. Clearly he's got something about him, but clearly he's been given an enormous amount of latitude, because this is a car crash in front of your eyes of deterioration and managing people's expectations. I guess the only thing you can think that he's doing is taking people's expectations to such a low level they can now over-deliver.
Right. Well, you talk about Amorim, Simon, and you're not wrong, saying curious things. So post-match, was there a tone of resignation to Ruben Amorim? He was asked what was the most disappointing aspect of the performance.
Everything. The way we start the game, we were not even here. When everything is so important in our club, everything that happened, it's a problem in our club. We should do so much better. So I just have to say sorry to our fans, and I felt my players spoke really loud today what they want.
Can you just elaborate on that? What you mean? Your players spoke very loud on what they want.
Easy for you. Let's focus on the next game, and then we have the stop for the international games. We will think things through. You cannot change so much. You cannot change everything in one summer, but you need to win games. You need to don't show this kind of performance. I think that this is a little bit the limit. So I think something has to change. But let's focus on in this moment. We need to focus on the weekend, and then we have time to think.
What do you take out of that?
Well, not a lot.
Do you take out of that we're almost at the time now? We're almost at the time now. I don't have any more answers. We're almost there.
Well, I mean, he doesn't bristle in interviews, and that might just be an Iberian style in terms of the way that he operates, and he isn't one of those, albeit that Mourinho's a Portuguese, and he bristled at every opportunity, didn't he? So it's not generic to that particular part of the world that they have a bit more about them in terms of, rather than if that was Ferguson or someone of his ilk, there'd be bristling, there'd be rage, you'd see it. And it's not there. It's a calm, balanced view of what he's not comfortable with. But I don't know how long you can allow it to go on.
It's a defeated view, though, Simon, isn't it? But does that not sound to you like a manager laying the foundations for his own exit?
I don't know. I mean, we heard rumours earlier on in the year, didn't we? And obviously the thing in football, and we've said it 100 times, the two biggest commodities are gossip and money. And one of the rumours was that he'd handed his resignation in and was told to get out the door and get on with the job that he'd taken on. That's all. If that's true, is there any substance in that? And I don't know if there is. If there's any substance in that, that's the worst thing you can do with somebody is talk them round. Because if you talk somebody round, then you're a hostage to fortune because you've convinced them to do something they shouldn't need convincing to do. They should want to do it. And then you're in that situation. So if they've done that, they're going to have a challenge. And then you look at the appointments over the last 2 or 3 years, and it was a constant common denominator of failure, or failure to achieve standards that have been achieved previously. And that's the challenge that United have got. They are victims of their own success. They're not allowed to have this impasse where their team is going to be recreated. Ten Hag, by all of us, was criticised, castigated, and all of these managers seem to talk in psychobabble that no one can quite understand. You've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying that Man United don't need to win anything. You've got Ten Hag coming out with stuff that clearly in front of our eyes you'd have to be blind pew to agree with him. And now you've got Ruben Amorim talking about things that we can't understand with no improvements, saying things that his players have spoken loudly. And I don't know anyone that's been able to understand that. That's right up there with the sardines are following the trawler.
Well, that's right. But when we break it down, Simon, and I go with everything you're saying, he says there's one more game, that's this weekend, and then we'll decide. There's an international break, and we'll decide from that. I think he's out of there. Or at least he's got 1 foot out of there.
I mean, possibly. I mean, you never underestimate the gumption of people. I think that to have gotten the job of Man United manager, you have to be dragged out there with your fingernails being scraped across the Old Trafford pitch to want to be leaving that environment unless you haven't got the chops for it in the first place. So if we're talking about the idea that he's resigned to defeat, then good job, get rid of him quick, because he hasn't got the stomach for it, because it requires real gumption, real stomach, real backbone, real balls and real character to get through this challenge of Man United. And too many of us are making excuses for the culture of Man United. But the problem for Man United is that the scrutiny is so ever present that they're not able to have a bad game, a bad moment, a bad set of situations, because it's always there all the time. And so you can't rebuild. You can't, like when you highlight a new stage show, you take it off Broadway and you let it learn, and then you bring it back to the big theatres. You can't do that with Manchester United. You're straight in the glare of things. But if you've been in a job in any walk of life for 10 months and it appears to be getting worse, and by your own admission, nothing has changed, well, who's the architect of change? How far do you want to take? Now, he's right to say, well, my formations were the same against Arsenal. My formations were the same against Fulham. So why is my formation becoming a question from a journo that was asking him a question? Because
Right.
he would ask it.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Phil Jones, and I was listening to one of my old players, Joby McAnuff, and they desperately tried to avoid the formation conversation. And Phil Jones talked about the idea that if you don't approach the game and do the basics, then you'll have no right to be in the game.
Yeah.
And there is always this situation where big clubs come down to lesser clubs and they find themselves under-aroused. In the second half, you can't criticise Man United for being under-aroused. They battered Grimsby. They could have been 3 or 4-0 down, absolutely. And you have to look at the quality of what they're doing on the field. But no one can question the second half's performance in terms of desire to get back in the game, because they did pummel Grimsby.
I would ask you if United have ever been aroused under Amorim. But I tell you what, Simon, as we hit the first break...
Yeah, they come on. They played cup games against Arsenal where people thought they'd turned the corner and they won penalty shootouts or whatever they did.
For any length of time?
No, not for a sustained period of time, and that's the problem.
Gary Neville has revealed that he removed a Union flag from one of his Manchester building sites because they are being used, quotes, in a negative fashion, according to him. The former England and Manchester United player defended a 3-minute video on, spoken a 3-minute video on LinkedIn, claiming the British public is, quotes, being turned on each other, whilst he also accused angry middle-aged white men of dividing the country by using the Union flag in a negative fashion. This was Neville.
I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other, and the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry middle-aged white men who know exactly what they're doing. Funnily enough, on one of my development sites last week, there was a Union Jack flag put up, and I took it down instantly. And some people might be watching this and thinking, well, Gary, you're not very patriotic. I played for my country 85 times. I love my country. I love Manchester and I love England. But I've been building in this city for 15, 20 years, and there's no one put a Union Jack flag up in the last 15 to 20 years, so why do you need to put one up now? Because quite clearly it's sending a message to everybody that there is something you don't like. The Union Jack flag being used in a negative fashion is not right. And I'm a proud supporter of England, of Great Britain, of our country, and we're championing it anywhere in the world as being one of the greatest places to live. But I think we need to check ourselves. We need to check ourselves and sort of start to think about bring ourselves back to a neutral point, because we're being pulled right and left, and we don't need to be pulled right and left at all.
That was Gary Neville. We're about to go into an international break. We're in an international break, and his England will be playing, and we'll see the Union Jack, no doubt, the St George's flag being waved about here, there and everywhere. Simon, can the flag be unifying in football, but in other areas of society, divisive?
I think it's astonishing in the wake of an Islamist terror attack that he decides to have a go at middle-aged white men. Maybe the angry middle-aged white men are the ones that worked on minimum wage inside his hotel. I don't know. I think he's a champagne socialist and a coward. I think it's a dreadful thing to have said.
How is he a coward?
Well, I think the real issue is about radical Islamist extremism, and he doesn't have the balls to call it out for what it is, rather than suggest that people that are challenged in our country about what's happening He's insulated from these things. He lives in a very rarefied world where his money and privilege has enabled him to live behind a gated environment, not have to worry about NHS appointments, not have to worry about people being attacked in the streets by immigrants that shouldn't be here in the first place. He doesn't have to worry about these things. And so he has the ability to be able to sit there and observe in such a way that insulates himself from it. And I think it's an appalling stance to have taken. He's entitled to his view. He's entitled to a view. We are quite happy to wave every other flag in this country, whether it's Palestinian flags, Ukraine flags, or any other flag that we feel that we're able to wave. But when you're talking about people in this country that have legitimate concerns and want to have a legitimate value set and push back against what they're having forced upon them, for Gary Neville to say what he's just said is the exact embodiment of what I said, which is a champagne socialist, which is insulated from the real world, and a coward, because the real issue is about some of the extremism that's going on in this country.
At this precise time in which we are living, do you think certain football fans will think twice about waving a flag?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you listen to ghastly ex-Labour MPs like Emily Thornberry, anyone that waves the flag St George's is a thug and a Luddite. You know, it depends who you want to listen to. I think you should be proud of your country. I think you should be proud of your country's flag. It only seems to be this country that seems to think that because there were a few people, a minority of people that want to adopt it and utilise it for the potentially the wrong reasons, that somehow it represents. It's like suggesting that every single time you have an issue with something in this country, you push back against the narrative of undocumented young males coming across into our country, you're a racist. There's nothing racist about that. It's having a concern and being able to voice it. And the politicians and people of influence in this country are not and have not been listening.
Emmanuel, you are a World Cup winner. How patriotic are you at this time about the French flag?
A lot. Well, if you see my whole family, we've been so dedicated to the French flag, and my whole family. I mean, cousins, they are in the army. I got a cousin as well working as teachers as well, national, education. So we've been dealing with a country for many generations. So my grandfather was as well part of resistance. I don't know the word, during the Second World War. So we've been linked with France deeply, but as a patriot, not as nationalist people, which is for me the big difference. Of course, there is racist people in France. Of course, there is racist people in England. But for me, it's the minority of people. So if you try to mix different things and you put confusion into people's mind, and this is exactly what I don't like. We are living nowadays in our society. People are trying to divide us all the time. Trying to point finger at you because you love your country. This is something I've been witnessing, in France for years now. Recently as well, I've been very shocked about what I've seen on TVs. People are trying to be proud of the French flag, and all of a sudden there were people around them pointing finger at them, saying that you should be ashamed about your flag. I am in France. I am a French guy. I love my country. So there is no reason why you're telling me I'm a racist guy because I love my flag and I love my country. I mean, if you travel everywhere in the world, you go into countries that are very nationalist and they're very, very proud about their flag, and we don't see them as racist. And I don't get it, honestly.
But do you think Gary Neville has a point that maybe here there are certain individuals who are hijacking the flag, the Union Jack flag?
Sometimes, when you go...
Maybe it's the same in France.
Yeah, it's totally the same in France. We are living actually we are trying to fight against, as you said, Islamism, very, very bad, because we have millions of Muslims, living in France, and they are respecting the country, and they want to live with us under the same flag with the same value. They have different religions, and it doesn't matter. If we have the same values, we can live together. And there is a minority of people, they don't want that. They want to split. They want to put confusion into people's mind. So when I hear things like this, that I feel sad. Honestly, I feel sad, because you have to be proud of your country, and if someone wants to show the flag of the country, you must be happy with that.
There's no attempt. I mean, I don't really attach that much importance to what Gary Neville says anyway. But insofar as he's a voice that people want to listen to, he's a very good football observer, a very good football commentator. You need to understand the motivations of people and the reasons why they do things. And you'd be well served in remembering that these angry white men that you reference are the same angry white men that possibly have paid enormous amounts of money that have gone into your extraordinary wages over the years. So you need to get some context and some balance and some empathy and understanding why people might think that valuing their flag in a time when our country is being challenged left, right and centre by a variety of issues is something that people should want to do and doesn't make them angry or doesn't make them extreme and it doesn't make them racist.
There is something I don't understand. He said that it's only mid-white men.
Yeah, low-hanging fruit,
that
easy
means
to do.
There is only white English people in this country?
Yeah. Well, it's low-hanging fruit. It's an easy attack. It's positioning itself against people like there's a character in this country called Tommy Robson that represents a certain viewpoint.
You divide people when you say that.
Well, of course you do, but that will be lost on our Gary.
I don't understand that.
And in the meantime,
I know black people that are French. I know white people that are French. We don't care about the color of your skin, the religion. As I said, if you live under the same flag with the same value, I don't care what you love in your life, you know. So when you say white men, for me, you make a really strong difference between people that showing that flag.
You raise the flag, no doubt, in this international break. The French, you know, over here, the English flag is flown by many football fans. Is it the same in France? When you play a match, do the French feel...
Of course, very proud.
We love the tricolor.
This is why I love football as well and sport, because this is the only part of the society when you can show your love, the love for your country, without being pointed as a racist person. If you do that in the street, or sometimes you can do that on national days, you know, like for example, the 14th of July, which is the national day in France. You see so many French flags in the country. People they don't matter about that because this is the day for that. But more and more it's happening in my country. French flags disappear, you know, from the habitation, you know, houses, things like this. Because I'm not gonna say they are scared about that, but it's like if we do that, people think you're racist, and I don't like it.
Gary Neville revealing that he removed a Union flag from one of his Manchester sites because they're being used in a negative fashion, according to him. Simon, what do you make of this? The football YouTuber Mark Goldbridge has won the rights to stream 20 live Bundesliga games this season. You'll have seen this. It's in one or two of the newspapers this morning. It's the first time an online content creator has been included in such a deal. He's built something of a decent base through his watch-alongs. His That Football account has 1.38 million subscribers on YouTube. So is this the direction we're going in, from the humble YouTuber to European football rights holders? Is this the next turn of the wheel for sports rights?
Certain sports rights, yeah. I mean, new media versus old media. New media will crush old media in the end and is beginning to do so. The linear broadcasters use the term YouTuber, the mainstream media, us, other sections of the media, to deride and to classify certain content delivery mechanisms. Now, it's interesting, it's not just Mark that's got this, it's the overlap as well. So these rights, the UK-based rights for the Bundesliga are looking at opportunities to create more awareness. I don't think there's any commercial value in this deal in terms of any massive revenue to either the Bundesliga or to Mark Goldbridge or to Gary Neville in the overlap. I think it's all about awareness and opportunities. And I think it's just a landscape opportunity for some of these leagues that can't compete with the power leagues of the Premier League to find a way to create more eyes on the prize that somewhere along the line they might commercialise. They could have flogged it, perhaps, for £500,000 to DAZN or someone like that, but put it behind a paywall. And then they'd have limited eyes on the prize. If they give it to a digital content creator like Mark Goldbridge, that's got a big audience, whatever you think of his content is irrelevant. I listen to, everyone talks about content delivery and what the content is and how they don't like it. I turned on Channel 4 about a year ago and there was a guy butt naked playing the piano with his penis. I didn't like that content either. That's a mainstream broadcaster.
How did he hit the high note?
Well, there you go. So the bottom line is that some of the content that's being delivered, digital marketplace is crushing linear broadcasting. It is the new media is taking over from old media. Interestingly enough, though, new media still wants the credibility of old media.
Yeah.
Still wants the relationship with it. But if you look at the way it's going, if you look at the major terrestrial broadcasters, they're getting their backsides handed to them. If you look at what's happening to Sky, the subscription models, the amount of subscribers that they're getting is just churning away to virtually zero. The interesting thing will be is how this works for the Bundesliga. Clearly, these leagues like Liga and Bundesliga, Serie A, are not getting the overseas deals that they want.
Yeah.
This is a UK-only deal, so it's YouTube potentially being approached by someone like the Bundesliga saying, "We want to have a relationship with you guys. We'll give you a section of our media rights. Who do you advocate for?"
Right,
and they've advocated for Goldbridge and for.
Do you think other European leagues will have to diversify as well?
Well, it's not diversifying. It's a media rights package that they clearly haven't gotten rid of, and so they've given it an opportunity in a different space.
Yeah.
And so what it does, it doesn't give validity to the YouTube marketplace. It already has validity. It already has numbers. Are you seeing the numbers that these guys are doing?
Of course, yeah. But I'm personally not entertained by watching the likes of Goldbridge describe Manchester United conceding a goal and then going into like a huge strop about it.
But
like, really?
But you're not that's fine. But there's hundreds of thousands of people that do want to listen to that. The fan community that are watching sport in a different way feel... Now, this channel is doing watch-alongs in boxing. So it's not something that isn't being done elsewhere. And
of course.
And so I have to say...
I was part of that in Saudi.
Well, they are. Fair play to Mark Goldbridge for building a business. Whatever people think of his content or don't think of it, he's got a big community. He's got a big audience. He's probably trying to broaden his appeal. Yeah. Open up different marketplaces for him. I say fair play to him.
I want to, in the time we've got, I want to squeeze this in. Drag along clauses. This is a totally different subject, but I want to get Simon's take on it. I've never heard of this. You will have. Of course you have. There's been commentary in recent days over a clause that's come into effect regarding Jim Ratcliffe's £1.3 billion investment in 25% of Manchester United. On the 13th of August, a drag-along right clause in the deal came into effect. Now, the deal was that such a clause, this drag-along clause, would come into play 18 months after the completion of Ratcliffe's investment. Now, what it means is, should they wish, in the event of a bid for the club, the Glazers could not only sell their stake, but they could also force Ratcliffe into selling his 28.9% stake as well.
Standard fair. I mean, I thought you had a drag-along clause on me, hence the reason why I'm being dragged up to Glasgow at the end of September.
That's true.
Look,
beginning of October.
The fact of the matter is that most commercial deals, strangely not listed companies, but most commercial deals that have shareholder agreements behind them, that have minority and majority shareholders, will have a drag and tag. A drag-along is basically the majority shareholders, if they want to sell... If they're selling their shareholding in the business and the potential purchaser wants to buy all the stock, then the minority shareholders, in this instance Jim Ratcliffe, have to come along to the party and sell their stock at the same time.
Sell their stock at the same time?
But this is not unusual. And alternatively...
Yeah, but what if Jim doesn't want to do that?
But that's the deal he entered into. Jim didn't have to enter into that deal. Now, I'm assuming that he'd entered... I mean, the Glazers might be selling the stock at a lower price. They'll be selling it at a hugely advantageous price. So whatever they've sold to Jim Ratcliffe, you'd expect them to do better when they're selling the next time round, because the club will have been commercially better seeded as a result of the investment that Jim Ratcliffe has put in. So the drag-along effect will have a commercial benefit to Jim Ratcliffe, I suspect, in most instances. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed it.
So unless he chooses to sell his stake himself, Jim Ratcliffe really has no control over his stake. In the football club, in future.
Yeah, well, yes and no.
It means the Glazers want to sell, Ratcliffe and Ineos can't stop them.
Well, they couldn't in the first place.
Right.
And if you were a stockholder in Man United, who could stop you from selling it? It's a public listed
But the Glazers should force Jim to sell his stake.
Well, it's an agreement.
At their price.
They haven't forced him to do anything. They didn't force him to sign the agreement that he signed. Jim Ratcliffe bought a shareholding from the Glazers.
I get that, but he dances to their tune.
But he has signed an agreement with them, which is basically if they were to sell. Now, think about this to Man United fans. Who do they want out? The Glazers. Who do they want out second now? Jim Ratcliffe because he's gone from hero to zero overnight because they now don't think he's much cop. So the bottom line is, and that will change because Jim Ratcliffe will, I think, with some of his thinking, will eventually get it right. The bottom line is if you look at it and say that the Glazers are the majority shareholders, they have the right to tell the minority shareholders, as a result of a drag agreement that was ultimately put in place, that they have to sell their shareholding at the same time as any purchaser. No, that doesn't mean they have to, because the purchaser might not want to buy their shares. The purchaser may come and say, I don't need 100% stock. So it doesn't mean that he has to sell his shares. It's only in the event that someone buying the stock from the Glazers subsequently wants to buy the other stock that's held by a minority shareholder. The other side of that argument is a tag, which is basically if the Glazers were selling their shares, if Jim has a tag relationship or a tag agreement, he can tag his shareholding onto that and say, you have to buy mine too. So if someone comes in and buys the Glazers and if Jim has a tag agreement in place, then he gets the opportunity to ride off the Glazers' coattails in terms of a deal by having a tag agreement.
This is all
standard fare.
This is standard fare.
Standard fare.
This is all part of the norm.
And it's nothing to do with whatever this kicked up or whatever controversy it may be invoking.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of commentary about it.
Whatever commentary it may have invoked on the back of the fact that it's 18 months since Jim Ratcliffe crystallised his interest in Manchester United by buying his shareholding, it's nothing. Glazers aren't selling.
Yeah.
So it's of no interest to anybody.
Well, not
really.
Yet. Just when you thought we were winding down and Liverpool are champions and everybody knows what's going on, we have an FA Cup final coming up. Story after story emerges. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
I mean, you'd love to be talking about a Champions League final with Arsenal in it, obviously.
That'd have been nice. That'd have been nice. I was very pleased with the way they played, though. Obviously, they couldn't score the goal in those first 20 minutes. They did Arsenal to PSG what they did to Arsenal in the first match, where they were quite magnificent.
Yeah.
Arsenal took it to them. It was an interesting change yesterday, Martinelli going down the middle. I think that gave you a kind of insight to what maybe comes in the future when Arsenal do have a centre forward that makes runs beyond the opposition's defence, because obviously everything was feet. Suddenly there was a variation.
But how would you feel in a two-horse race if they don't finish second?
Well, I mean, who said it's a two-horse race?
Well, it has been for a considerable period of time.
The last month or so, 6 weeks, Arsenal have not picked up enough points. It's a ridiculous amount of draws. And obviously their workload of fixtures it seems to be okay for certain teams to get to a final and prioritise Europe, but Arsenal played pretty well the same team. If you look, Arsenal didn't make any changes. It's been quite a workload, but they found wanting in the centre forward area. So of course that's going to be dealt with in the summer.
It's going to be dealt with this morning.
Maybe even now.
Yes, indeed. Look at this healthy specimen beside me. You're looking well, my man. Good morning.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Enjoy the weekend sunshine.
I'm sure I wasn't feeling well over the weekend, but I'm all right.
No, I've heard. Yeah.
Not
You've been
very
all
well.
right.
Sorry to hear that.
But he makes it in.
This is it.
He loves
this
show.
is the difference.
Loves the Monday show.
Geography. You're going to be sick at home, be sick at work, getting to work. That was my attitude.
Leave your problems at the doorstep when you go to work.
That's absolutely right.
Quite right.
He wants you to get it, that's why, whatever he's got.
Oh, here, listen. I'll accept that.
It's not catching.
A Champions League race then going down to the wire. So where are we at in this incredible scramble towards the end of the Premier League season? Newcastle were the biggest winners, moving up to third in the league with victory over 10-man Chelsea. Chelsea are now down to fifth. Villa moved back into contention on Saturday with a win over Bournemouth, but Forest were pegged back 2-2 by Midlands rivals Leicester. And shock of the weekend came as Manchester City drew a blank at Southampton, of all places. Well done, Southampton. Saints fans, something to cheer about. But Villa moving back into contention on Saturday, and that wasn't lost on Unai Emery when he spoke to Sky Sports.
Good afternoon. Europe. Yes, of course, Europe. To be in Europe, very important.
Do you know what? Maybe he's referring to the two last games he's got of the season, which is Spurs and Manchester United, because that's all they're thinking about is Europe. Because maybe that's the easiest 6 points you're going to pick up between now and the end of the season.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I love the way he did that, though, Simon. It's just like he's just got a win over Bournemouth, so I'm going to go for it. Europe. And the emphasis is on that.
Yeah.
Who's going to finish in the Champions League places?
Yeah, I mean, they've qualified for a European competition, haven't they? I mean, they will hope it won't be the European Conference. That won't look such an admirable thing for him to have said. Look, I think Martin's hit the nail on the head. Villa have got the two games against the teams that couldn't care less in their league right now. They've got nothing to play for in the domestic league.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to want to recycle their playing squad to give the best version of themselves in the Europa League final. So of all the run-ins, you'd probably say Villa have got the best opportunity to give themselves an opportunity. I think if you look at who's going to qualify for the Champions League spot and who would be the most disappointed and who would be the most challenged if they didn't achieve it, I think it has to be Chelsea. I think Chelsea now, 3 years into a project, have got to start hitting their straps. You can't make cases for owners to turn around and say, like they can't make it for managers, you can't keep on talking about what's going to happen in the future. You've got to start happening now.
Sure.
So
they also play Manchester United, Simon, don't they? And who've down tools.
They do.
And then Forest,
it's the Forest game.
Yeah, be an epic.
Mind you, it'd be pretty tough, and questions would be asked if Manchester City miss out.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I think Manchester City, despite the result against Southampton, have got their momentum back, which is not a great sign for the cup final on Saturday.
But if you don't beat Southampton, how can you say with any certainty that you beat Bournemouth and Fulham?
Exactly. So has it been a week?
Because Bournemouth will attack Manchester City.
Yeah. I mean, Simon, a weekend of damage
game as well, there.
A weekend of damage minus the knockout blow, really, isn't it? When it comes down to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty telling blow for Nottingham Forest. I think Nottingham Forest would have anticipated of getting more than 1 point out of the last 2 games, getting beat by Brentford and drawing against a poor Leicester side.
They fought hard though.
They will fight now because they've got nothing to play for, which is a terrible mentality to have for your fans to watch players play at the end of the season when there's nothing on the games anymore.
Right. Well, you've taken us right to it, Simon, to be honest. Nottingham Forest at the end of that, 2-2 with Leicester. And what do you know? On comes, onto the pitch, that is, the owner, Evangelos Marinakis, a recognisable sight at any time of the day or night. Gary Neville said what happened thereafter was scandalous from that Forest owner. Nuno should go and negotiate his exit tonight with him. The Forest fans, players and manager do not deserve that. Essentially, Marinakis comes on and has an earful for Nuno as he's walking by, and Nuno Espirito Santo's expression changed somewhat. This was Nuno's version of events.
Comes for the situation that unfortunately in the last 10 minutes we had 1 man less, with situation of the not able to give us a hand to the team, to help the team because we were too much in pain, and that's because that came from a bad communication between departments, our coaching staff and medical department. That they had the info of one thing, it proceeds, we make the sub. Unfortunately then have another stoppage time. And after that, I think 30,000 people that were in the stadium were really, really upset, rightly so.
So unusually, Marinakis, the owner, put a statement out. Everybody, coaching staff, players, supporters, including myself, were frustrated around the injury of Taiwo and the medical staff's misjudgment on Taiwo's ability to continue the game. This is natural. This is a demonstration of the passion we feel for our club. Yeah, sure, I get that. But what is worse, Simon, an overly passionate owner or an absent one, like the Glazers, Stan Kroenke? I mean, this fella turns up, but should he have done what he did?
By the standards of what people expect people to do, probably not. Was it necessary? Probably not. Was it a poor piece of professionalism from the medical staff? Yeah. Should he have dealt with them offline? Yeah. Is it necessary for Gary Neville to make those sort of observations? It feels to me sometimes that him and Carragher are now making observations simply to get attention. It's a ridiculous conversation to suggest that Nuno Espirito Santo, that was brought back from Middle Eastern football by a motivated owner, that might well have stepped across the line in the eyes of the orthodoxy of how people should behave in the football world. The same people that have this orthodoxy don't hold the standards themselves, but let's just say that they're right, that it's not really necessary for an owner to walk onto a field and to do what he did, but it certainly isn't necessary for a leading pundit to come out and say, right, that's it, you should be resigning, you should be going in there. I mean, this is silly stuff. It's not even grown-up conversation worth commenting on.
I actually thought the Forest manager dealt with it really well, actually, and he talked about emotion. Obviously, this owner's going to come on. He's very passionate. You're going to take the good with the bad with him. And I thought the manager dealt particularly well with him. One thing that did worry me and concern me, and I don't want to come for the officials, but the incident involved, the guy was 10 yards offside when he was running through, and why they waited until he was nearly very serious injury.
That's the rules.
Well, I just feel it was so very obviously offside, that flag really should have come up.
If we stick on Marinakis, should the pitch ever be the owner's domain, Simon? Did you ever go on it?
Not to remonstrate with my manager, no. I went on it once to ask fans to clear the field in a playoff semi-final because I thought our fans celebrating in front of the Sunderland fans on the first leg of a playoff final was ill-advised, and I didn't fancy having a fine for a pitch invasion. But to go on there and remonstrate with the manager, No, it's not necessary. But there was different ownerships, there's different models. One thing you cannot deny is this man's commitment. This man's commitment to his football club, whether you like him spitting on the floor in front of officials or whether you like the cut of his jib and where he's got his money from and what the calibre of the man is irrelevant. He has bankrolled this football club to such a level that it's catapulted them out of the doldrums of 23 years in the backwaters of football.
Yeah.
There's been some significant people. Nigel Dougherty was a friend of mine that owned Nottingham Forest, well-heeled, financially highly motivated and very committed to Nottingham Forest, couldn't drag that team out of the Championship. This man's come and done it. And so he steps across the line. The balance is, what do you want? Do you want uninvested owners or do you want emotional ones? Do you not believe that Spirito Santo would have known what this animal is? He's worked with him for a year. He knows what the man's capable of.
That's what I was able to deal with.
It's other people that are becoming offended on behalf of him, and they should pack it in.
Yeah.
The principal identity of Nottingham Forest, with due respect, has been established by Marinakis. He has bought and paid for his football club to get itself back in and amongst the elite. There are reasons why that 18 months ago, 2 years ago, everyone was saying what a shocker he was. He was buying players and Steve Cooper didn't know whether he was Arthur or Martha. They don't say that now.
So you're saying it's all right that he was on there?
No, I'm saying I wouldn't do it. But I don't think.
It's a cultural thing, Sam.
Who's to judge it?
Greek owners are on the pitch almost every blinking week.
Who is to judge it? Who are the people that define the standards? Who arbitrates what is right and wrong in this day and age? The very people that don't uphold the standards themselves.
Do you think that's nonsense from Neville? Nuno should go and negotiate his exit tonight.
But it's just silly. It's just for people to react to. It's clickbait. Gary's a better observer than that. You don't need to be saying these sort of things. Nuno Espirito Santo is not going to be rocking into his chairman's office and saying to him, I'm out the door.
Yeah.
Because he knows that the guy's committed to the club. Now, whether an owner should do that. By the way, why is there one rule for owners and one rule for everyone? Everyone else is allowed to show emotion. Just out of curiosity.
But do we want it to become the norm to see the owner?
No, you don't.
No.
But we understand it comes with the territory with this man, don't we? And eventually he's going to let himself down. And I think actually the manager dealt beautifully with it. And that's why he's the manager of that football club. And they have taken him a hell of a long way, by the way, in 12 months. Yeah.
I wonder if in something of a weird way, Forest fans, did you quite like that? Did you like that demonstration of passion from Marinakis? You might want to give us a call on that. The fact, Simon, that Marinakis put a statement out, I think means that he dwelt on it and thought, yeah, I better say something here.
Well, he knew what was coming, but also he froze his... they are right. It was a poor set of unprofessional judgments being made about a player that was injured that should have been substituted.
Yeah.
Right? But he's then gone and doubled down on it by throwing his coaching staff and his
the physio
under the bus.
That's unfortunate.
And that personally,
the player may have given an indication that he was okay to carry on.
But he should have the wherewithal to want to say to them privately. I don't believe that you berate people publicly. I believe that you take them to one side and you go, right, let's have it clear. And people get to know the picture. You don't need to do it in the public eye, I don't think.
The thing is, if a manager does it, we let it go. Guardiola regularly does it with some of his players, doesn't he? Gives them an earful when they're coming off. So Marinakis decides, I'm going to go and have a quick word with Nuno. And now, of course, it explodes.
Yeah.
That's Pep's territory, isn't it? You expect him to do that. He's the manager. Okay, I don't like it, really seeing it, so open, public. I prefer that in the dressing room.
Mind you, it's his club. It's Marinakis.
But he's making a statement. And there's the other side of the argument.
There's the other side of it.
The other side of the argument is Nottingham Forest fans.
He can do what he wants.
If the Nottingham Forest fans are offended and beyond all level of consolation about what their owner's done, then we may be able to listen to it. But if I'm going to listen to other people that most of the time spend their time berating their own owners, going in on this one because it sounds good, makes a good sound bite, how people can react to it, I'm not really inclined to.
I'm going to put it out there, just as we hit 10:15 this morning, just after. Forest fans, what did you think of that moment when Marinakis came on the pitch and had a word with Nuno about what had happened?
Very big welcome to Martin Keown. Good to see you. Try not to offend talkSPORT royalty today. We know you've got a bit of a habit of doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, you've not seen the tweets, have you?
Prince William.
Yeah, we'll come back to it a little bit later on. talkSPORT royalty in the shape of Simon Jordan, who is also here today. And you went to the Palace.
I did.
At the weekend.
I went to Fulham, absolutely, Fulham Palace Road. Good game. Palace played well.
It was the first time that you've been back since leaving as owner.
Correct.
Not back, but
first time I've seen them live. Yeah, took my little boy. It was his first ever game.
You enjoy it?
Fabulous. Yeah, he enjoyed the whole experience. Fulham were lovely.
Some great goals.
Yeah, a hell of a goal from Harry Wilson.
That's unbelievable.
And a great goal from Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah.
I was just saying to someone in the stand, I don't fancy Nketiah. Wallop goal.
And the header from Gay was pretty powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think Fulham should have defended it better. He'll have a better view on that. But notwithstanding that, it was a good game. Nice game.
Palace into the top four. Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at, they took off their 2 strikers in the last 15, 20 minutes. What's that? Thinking behind that, we're saving it for the European game at the end of the week. And they did a job. Yeah. They did a job. They look good and solid. They're a better side than Fulham right now.
He's a clever man as well, isn't he, Oliver Glasser?
He's a top manager. He's a top manager. You know, if they don't do something to keep him, which seems difficult to be able to achieve, given they've not really backed him.
Their away record has been amazing, hasn't it?
They're a unit, aren't they? They're a good team, even when they've got a lot of players out and they weren't at full strength yesterday. They look like a good side and a solid side. And Fulham huffed and puffed and had a lot of possession, but didn't create those many opportunities. Emile Smith-Rowe, I don't know, is he an enigma? Is he ever going to arrive again?
That's the problem with Fulham, is they have a lot of the ball. And they do play actually quite well, but they don't create enough chances, do they? They don't score enough goals, which is a bit of an issue. We will talk about Fulham, and we'll probably talk about Crystal Palace a little bit later on as well. But no doubt where we're going to start this morning, and it's not the award of Martin Ødegaard as the man of the match on Saturday's game between Aston Villa and Arsenal. We're talking about Liverpool, Arne Slot and Mo Salah. Liverpool dropped points again in the 3-3 draw with Leeds. They dropped points from winning positions again. They've only won 1 point from a losing position all season. What does that say about their mentality? They conceded 23 goals, their worst at this stage of the season since 1964-65. And post-match, Mo Salah accused Liverpool of throwing him under a bus and said that his relationship with Arne Slot, the manager of the football club, was non-existent.
I'm sitting on the bench for 90 minutes. I think that's the third time I'm in the bench. I think it's my first time in my career, but I'm very disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed, to be fair. I have done so much for this club. Everybody can see that during the years, and especially last season. Sitting on the bench, I don't know why. Seems like the club is throwing me under the bus. That's how I feel it. I think it's very clear that someone wants me to get all the blame. The club promised me in the summer for a lot of promises and nothing. So far, I'm in the bench 3 games, so I can't say that they keep the promise. And I said that many times before. I had a good relationship with the manager, and out of the sudden, we don't have any relationship. I don't know why. It seems to me, how I see it, it's someone doesn't want me in the club. It's not acceptable for me, to be fair. Like, I don't know why that happened always to me. Like, I don't get it. I think if I'm somewhere else, every club will protect his player. I don't know why I'm in that situation now. But again, it's how I see it now is like, it's like you throw Mo under the bus because he's a problem in the team now. But I don't think I'm the problem. I have done so much for this club to get the respect I want to get. And I don't have to go every day fighting for my position because I earn it. People will say, you're not bigger than... I'm not bigger than anyone. I earn my position. This is football. Yeah. In football, you never know, but I don't accept the situation, to be fair. Again, I've done so much for this club.
That was Mo Salah in the mix zone afterwards. We don't often hear from Mo Salah, but he certainly had something to say on Saturday. Simon Jordan and Martin Keown are here. Is Salah right? Is he being scapegoated more than most for Liverpool's struggles? Or is this an entitled player thinking he's bigger than the club? Simon?
I think it's a negotiation. I think it's a very simple situation that something's gone on behind the scenes. Both myself and Martin have been involved in football clubs. Martin as a player, me as an owner, I've seen things behind the scenes. There's something that's gone on behind the scenes that no one's been privy to. And he's negotiating with the club now. The best thing Liverpool can do is get rid while there's still some money attached to him. Because ultimately, it's similar to the Ronaldo situation where we engineered an outcome, but the Ronaldo tribute act that passed as a player that turned up at Man United is not the same as Salah. There's still some economic value in Salah. So if I'm Liverpool, I'm looking at it going, okay, we are where we are. Let's sell him. And let's get some money from him. If the Saudis want him, let's get some money from him now. Whatever's gone on isn't likely to be healed. Whatever you think of the ideas of what Salah has said, and we all know that a lot of it's nonsense and confected, it is the modern-day footballer. It is not what other journalists have said. I was listening to certain journalists on the Sunday supplement like Jonathan Liu saying it shows how weak Liverpool are. It doesn't show how weak Liverpool are at all. When Mbappe had a turn at PSG, did it show how weak Nasser Khelafi was? When Ronaldo had his turn, when big players and big reputations decide that this is not for them, this is what the modern-day footballer does. You might not like it. You might not appreciate it. You can drive buses through most of the things he's said there. You look at the idea when he brings Harry Kane into the conversation. Harry Kane got slaughtered when he wasn't playing well. Slaughtered. Got people demanding, got taken out of the England team last year. So it's nonsense when he says, well, it's Harry Kane. I don't know what point he's trying to make there, whether there's an ethnicity argument he thinks is advancing or a bias towards him. I don't know what his point is. But he's been a wonderful player for Liverpool. And I think it's now run its course. And for whatever reason, Liverpool gave him a 2-year contract last year because the backdrop was you had to. And now you've got a player that doesn't want to be there, so get rid.
Yeah. It should never be just about you when you're playing in a team game. And I think sometimes with the strikers, you can overindulge players and then they can let you down. Because I think all of the club, all the fans will be disappointed with this. Look, this guy, he's scored 250 goals, 450 appearances. He's been there 8 years. By and large, he's been a really good plus for the football club. And he's got along with other managers. Maybe this manager, there's a breakdown of communication.
Has he always got along with other managers?
Well, I think there's been a little bit of a tit-a-tat with Klopp. There was a little bit once when Klopp took him out but then he put him back. He gave him an opportunity. On this occasion, I think he feels. I mean, maybe the journey of the game... Is this
just not a player, though, sensing that there's a little bit of weakness in the management here and that he's lost a few matches and he feels like he might be in a weak position and he's trying to push the boat out a little bit?
No, I think it's an emotional outcry from the player. He's not sitting there thinking we're 2 up, right, OK, this looks like it's my fault because they're winning, because they suddenly lose, and does he think, oh, the manager now is in a weak position? I don't think he's thinking that through. I think he's just done... I mean, look, there was a media frenzy around him. They were loving it, weren't they? The information he was giving them. But he was wrong in so many ways in what he's done. And I think he'll be disappointed when he looks back on it. He may well feel now that he wants to go take the riches of Saudi Arabia. He was promised. You know, he's sitting on the bench expecting to come on to win that game at 3-2, and he doesn't come on, and he's hurt, he's wounded, and he should have walked away. And now he's going to have to repair the damage. The club should insist on an apology. And the manager now... Really, I mean, if he's really in charge, he's got to be given that licence to manage this football club and discipline the player.
That's the big question, isn't it? What happens next? Is the manager now in a position where he has to be strong and take action against a senior player, or does he have to row back and caress the ego?
To what end? Player? To what end?
The end is either you sell him or you re-ingratiate him.
But it's simple. You sell him. It's simple. You know, you're going to turn the wheel. He's going to go at any point in the near future, whether it's in January or the summer. He's gone. Right. So what you're doing is you're treading water with this player. You can dissect the idea that he's talking about himself. You can debate whether it was an emotive response that wasn't rehearsed, because he didn't. It's off the top of his head to have rehearsed to say this is just an emotional response on the basis of that he's going, without thinking about what he's saying. He thought about what he was saying.
You thought that was pre-planned?
Well, I think he had a view that he was going to say these sort of things because ultimately he's taken everybody with him. He's left nobody a prisoner. You know, everybody's there. So he's left nobody free of any sort of observation. So I think it's very simple. Because it's Mo Salah, the noise will be that, Liverpool can't afford him. They're going to regenerate without him anyway at some point. So you've now got a player doing what players do, which is, in any other walk of life, if you've got a contract and you fall out with your bosses, you go and negotiate, right? In football, you negotiate in the public domain because you create divisions that make sure that situations manifest themselves as outcomes.
But he's doing something that players rarely do. And do you think he's playing a political game here where he sees that Slot maybe is on rocky ground?
No.
And he's like, okay, you make a call.
It's not my
you
read
make
of
a
it.
call because I'm going to make it untenable between me and the manager. I'm going to make it...
It's not my read of it. It's not my read of it. Because there's an economic value still left in Mo Salah, and Liverpool know that this player is just on the cusp of potentially being less worth something, and he is not going to be the player that will demand and command the sort of returns. What would you rather have? Would you rather have Trent Alexander-Arnold run around telling everyone how much he loves the football club and engineering a free transfer, or somebody coming out going, not happy here,
Saudi Arabia, this time last year, were about to pay 150 million for him.
And they probably still will be.
Well, will they?
Maybe not that much money, but
they might pay 75 million quid for him.
33 years of age. It's a depreciating commodity.
Yeah, no, but he has a great value in that area of the world. It'd be a brilliant statement for them to take Mo Salah to the Saudi Pro League.
Yeah, but it's posturing, isn't it, in the dressing room for a slot for the manager who you could say is on rocky ground.
So what does he do next? Does he take him to Inter Milan?
Well, look, there's going to have to be a level of communication. There's going to have to be some sort of apology.
Do you think he's played his last game for the club?
Well, it looks, for me, I think it looks increasingly like that, because how do you repair the damage? He's going to be out of the country till the middle of January. We get to the transfer window. Probably there's going to be more slating matches. When you go to play for your international team, they're asking you all the time about your club. Unless he's going to apologise, I don't see there's a way back for him.
What would you do next?
Sell him.
Just outright.
Yeah.
Highest bidder, off you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
Would you play him again in between time?
Depends if I felt that the team was better off with him in it. At the end of the day, you've got to try and win football matches. And are Liverpool better with Salah in the team or worse? At this moment in time, the argument is debatable because they're not winning with him and they're not winning without him.